what is up, my tricksters? It is your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh! Superhero with a bit of a discussion video today. This is going to be something that I wanna talk about the game going forward, and I want to talk about this article that I kind of came across on Twitter today, and I want to, maybe we can discuss how we think the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game has to go. Now, before I get into any of that, I know you guys have been kind of, itching for like real content from me. I've been making shorts. I will start advertising those more in my community tab, so you guys can see them, because I noticed that the bell doesn't ring when I post those, and I don't know why. I guess YouTube hasn't quite got the whole thing figured out yet, but I have been making content. It's just short to the point stuff, you know what I mean? Because I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes. I've got some art stuff I'm working on. I've got some I've been getting requests for Patreon, so I'm looking into the logistics of that. So stay tuned. We'll see if I hop into making one of those, because I want to make sure that if I'm going to make this, I want to make sure that it's good and has rewards I can actually do for you guys. I don't want to promise something and then have to backtrack. So let me just still got to do some research on that. Anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. All right, so we are going to be talking about how I'm a little bit concerned and mildly frustrated with the direction of the game is going in. And I read this article, and I absolutely 100% agree that this card is as good as the article is saying it is. We're talking about Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and how he mentions how it's like the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. Nobody questions it when you play it. Nobody is, like, it's a versatile card. It's literally designed to stop 4 different kinds of effects. And it stops cards when they're not even using that effect. Like, how crazy is that? How crazy is that? That you can use this card to stop a card, right, that happens to include the effect of searching. Like, if you had a card with 3 effects, and one of those effects is drawing and searching on it, even if you're not using it, in certain cases, Ash Blossom stops that card. How wild is that? And there's a reason. So the point that I want to get at is that this card is a problematic card, in my opinion. But it's also part of a broader problem in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Like, you can't really blame Ash Blossom. You can't really blame the players who play Ash Blossom, because, frankly, if you're gonna be mad at anybody, you gotta be mad at Konami for making the card. But this card is like uber powerful, right? So where I want to talk about it is, like, I think that this card needs to I think it's time. Ash Blossom, I think it's time for it to go. But that's not news to you guys. You guys who've been watching me for forever know that I think it's been time for this card to go, because it's been good since Blue Eyes was a top tier deck, when it got like alternative and all that stuff. Like, this came out in that set. Like, this card has just been OP for a while. Like, there was one format where this card wasn't quite as good as it could be, and we're also going to talk about the logistics of this card. This card serves a very specific purpose, and I'm gonna talk about it. And I'm also gonna show you that there's a broader spectrum that's going to be a problem with this. This card serves one specific purpose, and this card is what I call a gatekeeper card. That is what this card is designed to do. This card gatekeeps certain decks from being able to keep up with other decks. Like, for example, if you drop an Ash Blossom against dinosaurs, it's not the end of the world to most dinosaur players. They're just kind of like, because they're going to play, they have the, in archetype defenses, or extending moves. There are other decks like, Dragon Link, for example. They don't, if you drop an Ash Blossom, they're like, okay. They're gonna be like this. Yeah, even into the Dragon Link after the ban list, they're gonna be like, oh no. Anyway, that's one of the points that I'm getting at, is this card is basically designed. But, like, for example, if you play this against Dark Magician, as an example of a lower tier deck, it hurts, and that deck has a lot of searching, and but it doesn't have enough to where it goes, oh no. Anyway, you know, as an example, these are just two examples of decks that are featured on my channel often. But the point that I want to get at is that I think that it's time that this card needs to be taken down, but before it can be taken down, it has to be replaced. Konami has to make the nerfed version of this card. That's right. I speak English, I swear. The nerfed version of this card. And if you don't believe me that Konami will do that, won't do that at some point. Oh, they absolutely will. They will make an Ash Blossom, a new Ash Blossom card in the future that is only going to do one of the effects that's on it. It's like, oh yeah, negate a draw, negate a search, negate, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be, or they're gonna make 4 hand traps that do what this card does. Or they're gonna make it to where pay half your life points, or discard 3 cards, or some crazy, you know. It's what they're basically, I feel like, in order for Ash Blossom to truly go, its replacement, they're gonna have to get the Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Desires treatment. It's what Konami does. They ban cards, then they remake those cards with nerfed effects, and then sell them back to you. And they are high priced for at least a year. Stupidly high priced. And then over the next like 3 or 4, they'll eventually release you commons that are budget. And this card went through that whole fiasco, right? Except the commons are... I remember seeing a commenter on the Instagram post with this same article, by the way, who was talking about how the common is like $40, or like the equivalent of $40-50. They're in Europe. They're in Europe. I speak English, I swear. Well, it's close to what Texan can get, anyway. But this guy, I don't know. This card is just I think Ash Blossom has overstayed its welcome, I think. But like I said, it's before that, it's going to have to get replaced with something. That being said, the card effect that I think that obviously that would be the easiest solution is making new hand trap, make it a common. Stop, you know, Konami, stop being mean to the budget players, all right? Make it a common. Make it stop drawing and searching. That's it. Leave the other 2 effects off. And there's your replacement, because every deck draws or searches. But, you know, and there you go. That leaves enough wiggle room that it's, you know, it's not such a gatekeeping card, because that's what this card is. It's designed to be a gatekeeper card. It's basically like, oh yeah, I don't want Dark Magician keeping up with, I don't know, Salad. Let's use that as an example, right? Because I think that's, yeah, I think that's a good example. Dark Magician isn't as good as Salad. I don't even think it's as good as Salad with Dragoon, but that's neither here nor there. That's just opinion. Anyway, point being is Ash Blossom is an example of a card that stops this deck from keeping up with that deck. But it's also part of a broader problem in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we're going to, like, let's look at some of the decks that have been doing really well lately. Or, you seeing what I'm seeing here, guys? A whole 4th. Sometimes almost, third of a deck is hand traps. And this is why I think, like, and by the way, you should check out Yassine. He's a good guy. And MST.TV. They got good content. Anyway. And that brings me to my broader thing that I want to talk about is I don't think it's good that the direction that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going in. This is being very hand trap centric. Like, have y'all noticed that, like, look at Yassine's deck here, right? Look at this. This may not be the version he's playing right now, but basically what this chalks down to is he's playing 5 monsters and the rest is back row. Let's go with that Ignister. Here, he's basically playing, I want to say, look at this, maybe what, 10 monsters actually that actually do anything, and the rest is basically back row. Or, the kaijus just to, like, get rid of Dragoon or Barrier Statue. Which is, those 2 cards are also problematic. But you get what I'm saying here, guys, right? Look at this. Like, literally, you have entire decks that, like, Yu-Gi-Oh was supposed to be inspired by, you know, a battle of monsters. That's why that's like the big thing. In case if you read the manga, you watch the show, the game is supposed to be our monsters are fighting each other, right? That's how we're supposed to be winning, and instead, it's just become, you know, a very back row centric deck. And it's good that Konami's created, like, you know, been like letting cards off that stop that. You know, a lot of that stuff, like Harpy's Feather Duster, I think is a good thing that it's back. Lightning Storm getting its reprint is a good thing. I think it should have been in a lower rarity, so it'd be cheaper. But you know, like I said, with Pot of Desires and Ash Blossom, it's going to take a while. It's going to take the next, you know, 2 or 3 years before Lightning Storm is in a reprintable version for budget players. You know, or you're going to have to use your entire Yu-Gi-Oh budget on one copy, and it'll take you 3 months to get it, you know, as an example. It's just that I don't like that this Yu-Gi-Oh has become this very back row centric format, and I think it's not good. It's not good. I don't like the direction that Yu-Gi-Oh is going in. But at the same time, you know, nobody wants to get, you know, 13 negates, you know, or they're like having to go up against 13 negates. But then, you know, I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh is an odd game, and I have maybe some old school players' opinions on it, and I don't know. I don't think that it's good that Yu-Gi-Oh is going the way more of hand traps, and it's become a very back row centric form game, and I don't appreciate that. I just don't. I like Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't want that to do. So I don't know. How do you think that, if you guys are thinking like I am when it comes to these very like problematic cards, as an example, like, although these are like counters to hand traps, but like these you know are, you know, this card particularly. How do you think we could solve, as a player base, how do you think that we could solve this problem where maybe we're not as hand trap centric? I think the only thing that comes to mind is to release cards that kind of like, you know, counteract hand traps more. There are cards in the OCG that we don't have that counteract hand traps, which if we had those cards in the TCG, maybe players would be less likely to play them. Like what's its name, Nolan of something or other, I don't know. It's a quick play spell. It's supposed to say screw hand traps, but the point that I'm getting at is, right now we have Triple Tactics Talent, which is another card that needs to be reprinted. Here we go. Like, we don't have this card yet, and maybe I don't know if Konami will print it in a gettable rarity, and that's kind of like the two part of that one. Like, we have these hand traps, right? But the cards that fight hand traps are either limited or they're really hard to obtain. Or they're not here yet. And when they do get here, they will be hard to obtain. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to pose the question to you. I don't really like that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has become very hand trap centric. And I want that to change and let it be back to being like, I want monsters fighting each other centric. Like, that's how I think the game should be. So, what do you propose to fix the what I call the hand trap problem? Posing a question to you guys. If you're new to the Ben 10,000 YGO channel, click a like. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really just want y'all's 2 cents. I'm very curious. But be polite. Don't be rude. Not just to me, but to other commenters. If you talk with each other in the comments below, be polite. All right. Anyway, guys, I'm Ben 10,000 YGO. I'm your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh! Superhero, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.